Hello and welcome, everyone. This is the Daily Dharma. My name is Dina. Thank you so much for joining today. Let's take a moment, sync up our energies. Feel free to speed through this if you wish. Let's take a deep breath all together. From deep within the belly, hold and release through the smoke. Allow any fears, anxieties, dramas, or otherwise, any heavier emotions to pass through the smoke, to be transmuted and uplifted into understanding for the road ahead. Let us get started. So today, I think what I'm going to do, I don't normally do this. Yesterday, after the reading, I did my own reading as a follow-up for my own energies, and I got a lot of messages, which it would come out during the broadcast if it was meant for us, I suppose. But where I'm coming from today, I thought I would just share, and then I'll briefly pause, pack these away, shuffle, and then come back on camera. So I've shuffled this deck, the Return to Spirit, a few times, and a few times just this morning looking at our messages, especially related to this Dan Winter's work on this fusion implosion information. We'll get into that shortly, but this will remain out here. We're getting assistance to understand this immunity process, this return to good health, and the way that we are either building into our life-giving force, or if we're at crossroads in a way where we're in that cognitive dissonance place where that interference comes through with some type of roadblock internally or externally generated. And these things can stand at cross purposes and interfere with any type of forward progress. And so obviously it's important for us to work through any of those deconstructive interference patterns so that anything that comes our way is actually assisting and collaborating with our flow state, and we are doing so with whatever comes our way in the same way, so that we're cooperatively participating with all that is. So what I have here, I had so many doubled hits, but Trust Your Innocence comes out, Childlike Devotion came out, and Innocence in the Return to Spirit deck came out all together. So it's about trusting your very deepest spark of inspiration. And the way that it was coming through at the most simple level is that it's like most dogs will, forgive their owners because they are so in the moment. So if, you're mad at them and then an hour goes by and you come back by them, if you're a decent human, right? You come back by them and they're still going to wag their tail. They're like, hey, you're the person I love. But how easy and tempting can it become for us to be at cross purposes with our own actual urges when we're like, oh no, I'm mad at that dog. He's not my best friend. He ran away. Maybe I'm revealing a little too much of my own. But it's a good lesson in life when we can have those unconditional relationships and urges in our lives that combat the harboring of ill will. And what I'm talking about is that if we thought that the dog was conspiring to betray us, then we would not have that best friend, right? But when we are like, yeah, this dog just has its own will and urge, and the dog is answering its urges and trying to live its best life, and here I am with rules. And the dog doesn't know about neighbors' fences. This is something that's come up before. So it's like when we can return to that place of innocence again and again and integrate the truth behind what's happening, then this over dramatization in some regards or overly focused energy that's pushing into the lower vibrational stories and narratives is not serving as well as that return to innocence. And I'm not saying that we forgive an abuser and keep going back for more. That's not the thing I'm talking about. When we have situations such as loved ones and our own transgressions, most importantly here, it's the ability to then put ourselves out there into the world and then see the waves as they crash back onto us. It's like I was getting this image of the ocean with a blindfold, blind ocean, or colorblind maybe, coming forward, and it wants to understand the face of the shore. And so having the permission to come and go as it does, it reaches out and feels for the surface, and then it brings that back into itself, and it keeps returning and dancing with the shore in this way. And the two of them begin to soften, and there's an erosion process. The sand is going out, the sand is coming back in, and through this process of exchange, both items are left changed. And so we're getting some type of divine assistance here to understand how to return to proper health, proper life force energy flowing in that tantric union that keeps coming out in the cards. So some of the other things we have here, I'll show you. This depiction is very much reminding me of the images referred to with the Dan Winters. We've got this DNA helix coming through here with this card, Evolution. We've got Earth and Soul Star Chakra. Receiving the crystal keys. Look at all those bubbles beyond the crown. It's like the astral Merkaba of all that is moving around, throughout time and space. And then we have this possibly DNA, possibly golden spiral pine cone energy generated between two individuals looking in the mirror of time, I'm hearing. I don't know what that's supposed to mean specifically, but it could be referring to soulmate energy and how we're all ultimately connected and interconnected. There's this infinity symbol up here talking also about how things repeat and continue. Things are, like we talked yesterday, the conservation of matter, how it's like matter energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one state into the next. We talked about frozen waters, fluid waters, and then vapor, mist waters as well, and how this is just changing forms. And we might think of that in terms of life and death in the ultimate quest for understanding in the great mystery of life and human dimension here, and how we're possibly breaking through some of that infinite wisdom that we hold about things, and also the interconnectivity with the great mystery. So there's this 0 point field here at the center that we're contemplating today. Last card here I wanted to show you on the upright cards. Look at this unique gifts card. So I'm being told and instructed on the back end that I'm speaking to new guides. This came through yesterday's, and I would invite all unconditionally loving entities, beings, and channeled messages to step through today without delay. I was understanding some videos coming out recently have been talking about all of the UAP activity and how we are really set for disclosure, and how many of us are kind of like, okay, so it's finally time, perhaps. And I feel like many of us here, if I could find my card, are the ambassadors for this introduction and this momentum. And so we are being asked to continue to self-regulate and balance. And today is December 13th. It's this day of integration. 13 is such a feminine goddess number. There are 13 moon cycles, and arguably there should be 13 months in a year. And we could even go on from there into whether you want to do string theory or DNA. 13 is a very sacred number. And because it demonstrates integration, it is also the death process, the shedding of what doesn't stay, so that we can take in the nourishment and eliminate that which does not suit us. So I'm going to interrupt just a moment to tell you that also this imagery with the Dan Winters stuff is coming through with something that somebody told me a long time ago about something that was a little bit interesting, but in that way memorable, to think about how a gasoline spark engine works, a combustion engine. Remember, we're talking about implosion. So with the combustion energy, such as car and truck, they have this intake process, and then that pulled in gasoline, some type of fuel, and some type of air or some other substance mixed and then put under pressure, squeezed, and then there is a transformation. In this case, the air and the fuel pressurized creates a spark, which then expands, and then that has to go somewhere. So then it has to be evacuated, eliminated. So the way that they told them to remember this, I may be missing one of the elements, but it's suck, squeeze, bang, boom, I believe. And so we're talking about, let's talk about the body, the vehicle of the body, the vessel that carries all that this wonderful creation and great mystery resides within, this consciousness. We suck the air and the experiences into the body. We are squeezing. We are not only under stress from the environment, from gravity itself, and all of the external pressures and internal pressures, then we are creating decisions. We're creating momentum, movement, creative ventures, visions. Even if we have a negative connotation, that narrative is a vision, and we are walking within this vision, and then it has to go somewhere. It's disseminated as information, reflection, and the voice that carries forth from this beingness. It's the declaration of our experience in this world. 1313. So let's take a moment. And I have so many things out here that I'd love to talk about, but let's get into your energy. Take a pause with me here. So at the time of this broadcast, we're also going straight from this 1212 portal into this integration phase, and then forward into the full moon in Gemini, which I'd love to talk just a little bit about. But then in short order, there's a few more activation portals going on. We've got lots of holiday things that create collective magnetism and gravity that shift things. And we also then, in short order, we have the solstice gateway as well, which here in the northern hemisphere is the longest night. It is full darkness. And then, if you can believe it, it is already the returning of the sun. And so if you've been dealing with overwhelm or anything else, trust that this process is absolutely serving us. Take another deep breath. Got some patchouli in the dish. Patchouli has been very big lately, generating protection and prosperity. So briefly, let's look at the chart as we're shuffling. We're being told in the pre-shuffle here, look beyond the surface. Avoid becoming distracted by surface issues at this time. Focus on the underlying motivation, yours, theirs, otherwise, the cause, or the beauty underlying a situation. Seek ways to bring depth and understanding to your world. Beautiful. I believe that's the humpback whale, not positive. Oh my gosh, surrounded by prosperity. Your attention is being drawn to the infinite nature of reality. That which exists beyond the known is beyond measure. Gorgeous. So look beyond the surface. You're actually surrounded by that great mystery, all things becoming. And so at the time of the full moon, we've got the sun and the moon opposite. That brings the sun in the sign of Sagittarius and the moon in late Gemini at about 24 degrees. So right there next to the moon rules the full moon space, not the sun. We see Jupiter retrograde at about 15 degrees. So Jupiter is close enough because of how fast the moon moves that it's really influential here. So in the days coming up to that full moon, the such as right now, we've got the moon passing through late Taurus into early Gemini, and so it's getting shaken loose with Uranus. It's breaking through something. It's having something shown to us, and then surpassing Jupiter, it expands whatever it touches, and so this can be an extremely emotional time. Particularly, I'm noticing the song in the background. Is this Claire de Lune? I believe. And it's such a somber, reflective song. So let's not get caught up in the moment. 24 degrees in Sag, where the sun is at, is only a few degrees shy of the galactic center, known as that great manifestation portal in the heavens. And we have Mercury pretty far back there. We just had Mercury retrograde, and it is slowing down to a full stop with the full moon at right around just shy of the 6th degree of Sagittarius. And so it has just recently gone past this place of the great attractor and then retrograded back, and is now going to be coming back across the great attractor here. I believe by the time of the solstice, we should have Mercury coming through there. Pause for the cause. Let's see. Mercury will cross that degree a few days after the solstice, around the 28th or so. 27th, 28th here where I'm at of December. We'll have Mercury going past that spot. And so this is communication and ideas of magnetism, the literal law of attraction at work and play in our lives. I have this little piece of fluff coming out of nowhere right in front of my face. Interesting. So, okay, beyond that, let's not get caught up in that. I'd like to do some additional cards. So we're surrounded by prosperity. I also wanted to talk about this Dan Winters, this holy grail of fusion and implosion. So fusion, talking about how things come together, such as the air and the gasoline. Implosion, talking about how something can kind of come into itself. Like think about, too much information, too much stress, and all of a sudden it becomes necessary to hide under the covers in your blanket for a few days. It's not quite the same in this type of physics, but I'm just giving some symbols to make it make sense. So implosion is something that comes back onto itself. He calls this recursive. Well, it's a word that means recursive, coming back onto itself. So there's also this psychological component. Dan Winter, see his work, please. I am only going to reference it. But he talks about the psychological component of compassion as a form of implosion. And so as we're giving things out, as we go to take in some sensory information, as we bring that back onto the self, it is the returning information that comes from the mirror of our experience. and it's educating us in new ways. Those lessons are, I started to say and interrupted earlier, the lessons can be viewed as some type of a lifetime of suffering and longing, or we can see lessons as blessings. It's like blessings. It came through a couple months ago in that way. And so whatever, it seems like a weird word, but it's like the blessings are also the lessons. They are one and the same in the mirror, just flip-flopped. So as we are able to then give of ourself out into the world, and then we see how that hits others, we start to understand the gravity of our words, our deeds, our actions, and then we don't want to do unto others as we would not have done unto the self. And in this way, we're also being reminded by spirit that what happens in the head, in the vibrational space within the core of the self, is actually what is governing this. It's the vibration and the truth and the peace that we're able to hold within. And so it is definitely talking about the implosion being a form of integration. And as we integrate those lessons and transmute what does not serve, that is actual learning and ascension. It is spiral instead of circular. It's like instead of the hamster wheel, we start to spiral up and understand a deeper, broader, more expansive viewpoint. So compassion is the energy of lift off, let's say, that is a form of implosion and taking things into one's gravitational pull and then disseminating that with integrity and compassion. So in this way, he also says in the image on the community page that protons and gravity exist because of fractal conjugate embedding within the electron. So I don't want to go too much into that one, but fractal is talking about how the above is the below and the below is the above, and how like dropping the pebble, each one of those concentric rings is also interfering with the elements that it's pushing against and outward into. So our perspectives, our elimination, our energy, whether recycled or just cast off, is actually evidence of the fractal of this vibrational emanation from within. This radiance goes out and pushes against the environment and influences out in fractal formation, and then becomes embedded in the electron. So the electron is like the spark. It's embedded within our own DNA co-creativity and the essence within. It's in the core of creation within the self. And so this is how also we then are either building life and building compassion, or are we self-destructing and interfering and butting up against everything that is and creating unnecessary struggle and poverty mindset, perhaps. So he also says only golden spiral, that perfect branching that we can see in the seashell, the what do I want to say, the golden array, that perfect spiral, is actually, I'm hearing in this moment, tantra in the moment. That's that perfect spiraling out. It's the perfect expression of compassion. Only this golden spiral tornado provides that charge compression trajectory and allows phase velocities to interfere, what he calls heterodyne, recursively, and then co-constructively building. So I don't want to break this one too much because I'm also not a physicist, again, entertainment purposes only, folks. But that charge compression is like the amount of energy, it has a threshold. And so the perfect amount of compression in that perfect frequency generation is then the charge compression and the way that it moves, the pathways that it's expressed towards. So focused energy like a laser towards your objectives versus dissipated energy in attachment or anything else, and dramas and distraction energy that we talked about here. So then that allows these phasal velocities, all of the stresses and weirdness that all the other humans and ourselves are generating. Only this perfect life-giving compassion creates that perfect laser focus to allow the differing things that happen to us in life to interfere in a recursive, life-giving, integrated manner that allows us to be co-creators and magicians, alchemists in our moment, to build constructively, to manifest with the law of attraction. So only this perfect geometry turns charge compression or stress inward towards the center in a proactive way, inward to charge that acceleration, the speeding towards the center, giving gravity, giving magnetism. Magnetism is life. It is recognition, awareness. It is magic in the moment. And so then there's also 3 images lastly, and it talks about there's 3 views of the spiral spin path to 0 point. And so one depicts what looks like a kind of a cup or a lotus, or the side cross section oblique of a waveform. And this was coming through as like a lotus, a vessel of a cup. Conception itself, because then as it returns on itself, something new is created every time, and then it becomes exponential, embedded harmonic frequency evidence of this co-constructiveness. It's co-creation. So also this becomes gnosis, transformation of knowledge and knowing into understanding and comprehension of the mystery, and how everything that we know is only one pinpoint reality observed in a snapshot of time. This is evidence of life-giving effort. It is the immaculate conception that is us understanding how we can grow to affect an imperfect life with the perfection of an intention to grow and change and shift. This is divine alchemy in formation. And so in this way, it's the legacy that we create for ourselves, whether through progeny, visions, which are also integrated progeny, or some type of immortality. The things that we put out into the ethers are now embedded in the electron. It is embedded in the co-creatrix of life, the matrix co-creatrix. So yeah, and then it's got the top-down view, which to me resonates as the cosmic flower card in this deck, talking about the top-down view of the DNA authority coming out first. And then the waveform looks like a tornado or a pine cone, perhaps. This is showing me a bit like the infinity symbol, as every waveform kind of twists unto itself and either spirals up or down. And at all times, we're kind of spiraling in and out of awareness and understanding, the breath in and the breath out, the life force and the death force energy, holding hands across the veil, letting ourselves deconstruct the understandings of yesterday so that we can understand the necessity of the moment, the torque of the moment. Empowerment, authority, empowerment. We're becoming very aware of something, yes, understanding and coherence. The coherence, it's number 13 as well. The understanding of the wave patterns, how to ride the wave. And let's take a few off the back. Realization. I wanted to ring the bell, so we will. We're having a divine recognition that we are in charge of our divine destiny, and the things that are going on are evidence of some type of integration ongoing at this moment. Here we have the fertility card. Everything here has been perfectly placed for the unfolding of the moment. The unfolding of the lotus is coming forth now. And I wanted to just pause. I did throw a few cards from this deck. I was filling myself up with love and the innocence and the return energy. And I was getting just this huge love, not directed at anyone. And it says, sometimes the good is hidden. Find the good in what they said or asked. It's always there, even if they didn't mean for it to be there. The love is always there, even if it's disguised as someone's misdirection. So clues for what you want are hidden all around you in this great mystery. And then we got the Hubba Hubba card. Do you know that dreamy look of deep, soulful love you've sometimes seen in the eyes of another as they gazed into your own? Expect a lot more of it. Woohoo, the universe. So it seems in contrast, but I would say that it's part of the life, the innocence, the return to the spark, to embed joy and understanding in the waveform. It's up to us to understand that we are that spark and that we must believe and hold it within. So when you finally see what this whole time-space thing was about, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, and you're going to be so happy that you did, that you loved as much as you did. Do you know what you've created? No, besides an intergalactically known saunter named after you, inspiration in the eyes that have watched you, hope in the minds that have admired you, and love in the hearts of those that have known you. But you might ease up on that sachet before someone gets hurt. Not bad, kiddo, not bad at all. Give yourself much more credit. When it comes to choosing who's going to be in your life, I recommend valuing their yee-haw quality above all else. Have it your way. Special orders don't upset us, the universe. So we're understanding the power that we hold to keep the love alive, whether in a particular specific situation or broadly in our own core, the hope and the life force energy to be inspired to do your meditation practice and to pray for the understanding and the courage to leave behind what does not serve. We get nurture nature. I'm hearing nurture your inner nature, something needing to really be brought forward. I want to split the deck. And we get air, paradigm shift. I feel like this is the rebirth. Instead of being like a phoenix, though, I'm getting that it's a very peaceful coming out of the chrysalis. But then I want to almost contradict that because I feel like we've been struggling and resisting something. We have this transformation card, luminescence, and journey to wholeness coming out here. Got to censor that one. There is that's all the time that we have, folks. So I hope that you're able